And this is Breakfast Briefing here on Newstalk with me, Shane Beattie. Just 6, it feels like every day there's something in the news about passenger caps and Dublin Airport. The latest, which emerged last night, is that the Irish Aviation Authority has proposed limiting passenger seat capacity at Dublin Airport next summer because of the passenger cap at the airport. To explain all of this, let's speak to travel journalist and Dublin Airport correspondent at this stage, Eoghan Corry, who joins me now. Morning, Eoghan.
I'm actually on my way to the airport, so I do feel like I'm living there. I might bring a camp bed and set up there.
One day I might get you to talk about travel and holidays and not Dublin Airport at this stage. Okay, so the IAA says there should be a seat capacity limit of 25.2 million passengers at Dublin Airport next summer. That's 1 million less seats than this summer season. Explain, please.
Yes, Shane, this has ramped it up to a stage, and there's no doubt in my mind we're heading for the courts on this. Because, there's been a lot of, jockeying around the position and talking about figures, and it isn't really clear, how this is going to impact on passengers. But this is a big one because Dublin Airport said last week they'd exceeded the cap already. They were going to exceed it by 1 million seats this year. The IAA have stepped in and said we are going to put a limit on the number of seats that can be sold or can be scheduled next summer, and it's going to end up being 1 million less than the seats that we had in summer 2024. That means that airlines, instead now of stymie growth, it means that they have to look at their schedules and start trimming it back. They're all a bit flummoxed by this. Dublin Airport put out a diplomatic statement saying we're grateful for the IAA to assist us in meeting our obligations, but we disagree with the obligations using all the diplomatic skills that Kenny Jacobs has. And of course, Michael O'Leary come out and said they've no legal way of doing this. We are going to challenge it, and we're going to seek an injunction to prevent it happening.
Right. So this will be the first time that the IAA has put a limit on seat capacity on Dublin Airport over the summer season. They don't normally do this.
Not at all. They don't. I never did it before. We saw it happen for winter, but obviously winter is only 8 million seats versus the 26 million of summer, 24 million of summer. So what they said is 25.2 million is the limit. They know that more than 26 million was sold this year, and that the IAA has always sort of been scheduling the slots, making sure that the number of takeoffs and landings are going to be safe, that flight paths are not overcrowded. That's the sort of business they get into. But it was quite clear over the last few weeks that there was a big one looming on this, because the IAA presented a case to Dublin Airport saying, this is what these are the capacity limitations. What are your thoughts? There is a slots coordination committee in Dublin Airport, which had quite a stormy meeting on August the 25th, and they have come back saying we disagree with the overall limit of seats. And it's not actually a decree from the IAA yet, because there is a consultation process. We can all guess what the reaction to that consultation process is going to be. Widespread protest from the airport, from all of the airlines that use Dublin Airport. There are 7 airlines that want to get into Dublin that can't get in because of this. So it's going to be IAA versus the volcano on this, and probably, as I say, end up in the courts.
Passengers don't really care about regulators or the poor airlines or DAA or anything like that. They want to know, if we're going away next summer, will this affect our chances of getting away? Will there be less flights available? And will the flights be more expensive?
Exactly. It's all very distant until it affects the flight price. Demand, you would have expected, if there wasn't a cap, Dublin Airport to be heading for 37 million passengers next year. That would be reflective of demand. Yeah. Once the demand outstrips supply, it's the first day in college in economics, the first day in junior cert economics even. If the demand outstrips supply, the price goes up. So that's what we'll see happening with prices to key locations. It also cuts down on your your choice because the frequencies are reduced. We've seen a serious reduction of frequencies on some of the trunk routes, and then the extra flights that Michael O'Leary was talking about, things like the charters for Rugby Cheltenham, the concert occasion, things like that will also be harder to get. What the real impact on passengers, though, is the fact that options that were there for new flights from the likes of Jet2, from EasyJet, from Royal Jordanian, we've seen growth in Dublin Airport when we've gone from an airport that really, to get anywhere, you had to fly onto Heathrow or Paris, to getting all those direct services. The flow of new direct services has stopped. Very important route that would be affected by this, that would be happening, is the direct flight to Sao Paulo. We've so many Brazilians in Dublin. They've been crying out for this for years. It's not going to happen because of the cap.
So our choice is a bit more limited with that. The argument Ryanair make that at the stroke of a pen, the government could get rid of this cap. Is that true? And also, can the IAA do anything about Fingal County Council planning decisions?
It's a really, really odd one, because Fingal County Council landed with this out of a decision by the Department of Transport 5 years ago now, when Dublin Airport, which was listed as critical infrastructure, was delisted. It was done because of some kerfuffle over the appointment of noise monitoring. That floated around for 4 or 5 years, everything moving so slowly. So Fingal County Council probably thanking nobody that they've been landed with this. It's really interesting also because Bord Pleanála's inspector 4 years ago said that passenger numbers had nothing to do with the planning process. The planning was imposed because of capacity on the M50, when we only had 2 lanes on the M50 back in 2006, and we had a barrier that raised up and down. Newstalk was very involved in the campaign to remove that lifting barrier, and a very successful campaign. So all of that was stuff that happened back in 2006, not what you hear nowadays, which is more about flight paths, noise, emissions, things like that. And when the IAA, they've no part in the planning process. They see themselves as the reluctant policeman called in to enforce a law that they don't really agree with either. Bord Pleanála have parked it back with Fingal County Council, and everybody is saying, including the junior minister, James Lawless, who met Michael O'Leary the other day, that the planning process is far too slow. We need the cap lifted, but nobody has a means of doing it. As you say, Michael O'Leary says Eamon Ryan can do it with a stroke of a pen. That was something that probably Eamon Ryan says he doesn't get involved in the planning process. Ministers shouldn't get involved in the planning process. So out of all of that, we need somebody to step in and probably bring in legislation. And we also have the option, a very important option, of redesignating Dublin Airport as key infrastructure to fast track it. But James Lawless says he's not sure that can be done in the context of an ongoing planning application.
Good news for the lawyers. Eoghan, thank you very much. Safe flight, Eoghan Corry. Thank you.